Hey, everybody, and you are listening to the Soberful podcast. And I am joined today by the very, very lovely Julie Huck. Hi, Julie. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Veronica. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So, Julie is a mom and co owner of a large real estate business in the Midwest. And she has been sober for how long have you been sober now, Julie?
Almost 2 years. It'll
Wow.
be 2 years in a few months.
So I've known you for over a year now, right? About 15
Yep.
months when we started working together. Wow.
Yes. Last April, I started working with you. I
Gosh,
believe it was. Yeah.
gosh. So I wanted to invite Julie on to tell her story because I think she is going to have a story that a lot of people are going to relate to. Some of you will watch this on YouTube. You'll see Julie is a very attractive, just mom, businesswoman, wife. On the outside, everything looks like it's fine, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But on the inside, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Um, yeah, no. So you mentioned that my husband and I own a business. So we started our real estate business about 16 years ago, and we've been really building and growing that business. And then I got pregnant with my first son, and I did go back to work right after I had him. And then I got pregnant right after that, about 22 months apart, my boys are. And I did not go back to work right away after I had him. And so that period of my life was just really intense, right? Just to have two boys back to back. We're growing and building a business. I drank. I mean, I drank in high school. I went to parties. I drank in college. But, I would say, I hate to use that word normally, but I drank
Like your
like
peer group.
like many of my peers, right?
But you still graduated, you worked, all the things.
I always had, good grades and played, sports and was part of clubs and all the things. So I was definitely highly functioning. I never thought that I had any issue with alcohol. And I don't really believe that I did until probably shortly after I had my second son. Most of my drinking throughout my early adulthood was um, just like my peer group. We went out on the weekends, we drank in the evenings. And then it really started creeping into my life after having the kids as not necessarily the fun, the tool to have fun, but it was more the tool to relax. And then it became the tool to treat myself for all of the hard work that I had put in day in and day out. And all around me, that's what everybody was doing. And that's what everybody was saying. And, you mentioned mommy wine culture. And that I think was just really ramping up, especially I had Connor in 2013. Just really ramping up that, the tea towels and the shirts and the cups and all the paraphernalia, and feeling like it was a way to connect with my fellow mothers. So I just really, really got into drinking wine.
Was it
Um,
like that there was always wine at play dates, or because I wasn't part of any of that. So how did that
hmm,
what did that look like?
hmm. I think that there was definitely wine at every function.
Hmm.
Um, and there was wine at birthday parties. There was wine at christenings. There was wine. Maybe not so much at play dates. I think my drinking just started ramping up. It's hard to put. I think when I realized I had an issue with drinking, I was trying to go back and say, when did this start? Like, really, like, where was that line? It was so blurry. It was like fine, 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 not fine, right? But there was definitely, like, for me, the wine started as, it was a symbol of success. It was a treat. It was a reward. I started drinking finer and finer wine to, kind of be a part of this successful mommy wine culture. It was cool. I started kind of creating this identity as a wine drinker. I started creating this like identity that wherever Julie goes, she has to have wine. And nobody seemed to think that was odd, nobody thought that was an issue. Um, and I really didn't either, right?
I mean, I think it's just it's all to do with the presentation. It's like you present like everything's together and lovely, and you always look wonderful. And I say this to my clients all the time. An alcohol problem shows up on the inside in how we feel years before it shows up on the outside. So you were just doing what everyone else was doing, and you were being a good mom and helping with the business, and the bills were paid, right? Why would anyone think that was a problem, right? When you look at it like that.
Exactly. And I remember it was probably, so I had Connor in 2013. It was probably 2016. And granted, I didn't stop drinking until October of 2022. I do remember being like, just having that inner knowing that I was on the wrong path. Like I heard this conviction inside of me. Like I heard this voice saying, this is too much. Like you're crossing the line. And I really did hear it. And I pretty much just quieted it down. I was like, nope, I'm good. This is normal. Everyone else is doing it. This is what my friends are doing. My husband doesn't think there's an issue. I mean, everything's fine, right? And it pretty much was fine. So that little voice started, and then that little voice just kept getting louder and louder and louder. And it was like the more I shoved that voice down and the more I ignored it and the more I validated my reasons for why everything is okay, kind of maybe the more ugly that voice got. And, it started like waking me up at night, right? I mean, I know that I would go to bed. So fast forward a few years, I was just needing more and more wine every night to achieve the state of relaxation that I was going after.
What was the voice saying?
Okay, so the voice was just like, you need to stop drinking. You need to stop drinking. You're drinking too much. This is not okay. This is a problem, right? I was the only person in the world that knew that voice was talking to me. I didn't share it with anybody. I had like my husband and I, like we really didn't have, the drinking never caused issues in my life with other people. I was very lucky that I never, I didn't act out. I didn't get in trouble with the law. I didn't get DUIs. I mean, nothing like that had happened to me yet. I mean, I was surely on the path. I mean, an alcohol substance use disorder, it doesn't get better. It's an elevator going down, 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 down. So I was definitely going down, 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 down.
Can you tell us what were some of your worst moments or worst days?
Yeah. There were a few times that really bothered me, kind of towards the end of my drinking career, where I would put my kids to sleep. And there was this one time where I put my son to sleep, and we always lay in bed with him and read him a book and kind of have a little bit of one-on-one time before bed. And in the morning, he's like, Mom, I can't wait to do that thing you promised. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I mean, I had no idea. And then he told me what it was. And I was like, I would have never said yes to that. Not in a million years. What was I thinking? I was just completely blacked out drunk, fully functioning on the outside, but totally blacked out on the inside. And I was doing that night after night, watching TV with my husband, going to bed, not remembering what we watched the night before. He would say, hey, remember this happened? We watched this episode. And I'm like, we never watched that episode. I don't remember that. And it was just these like little things that kept creeping into my life. That was bad. I think, Veronica, the worst of the worst was just knowing how, like, feeling that disconnect between who I am and what I was doing. And waking up every single night, I would go to bed and I'd wake up every single night at 4 a.m. and I'd go to the bathroom and I would just berate myself and be like, what were you doing? Why did you do this again? You know better. You're going to quit tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow's a new day. And it would just be this tape that I played every morning in the middle of the night by myself in those silent hours, which were just, it was awful. It was awful. And then I would wake up and I would try harder and I would push harder and I would work out harder and I would eat healthier. And then 5 o'clock hit and I couldn't stop myself. And I'd say I've had one glass of wine and then I'd have 2 glasses of wine. And then, it kept escalating. And then it was that cycle of pure self-hatred. And then my husband finally recognized it. He's like, you're not okay. This is not okay. Like, you just aren't yourself anymore. And so I did admit that I wasn't okay it was like 2020. So I did like a 30-day thing, I'm not going to drink for 30 days. And then at the end of 30 days, I celebrated by drinking. Yes, I did it. And then I just went back to my ways. And then it got bad again. And then it was the January of 2021. I said, okay, I need to make a change. This cannot go on anymore. I can't be this way anymore. This is really getting bad. Internally, externally, everything is rocking and rolling. No one would have had a clue what was going on. And so what I did was I hired a health coach and I started eating all clean food, including drinking clean wine.
Excuse me while I choke on my sparkling water. Can we just, did your health coach tell you clean wine was okay?
As long as the grapes were organic, Veronica.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff drives me nuts.
I know.
Did she give you like a limit? Did she say like 2 glasses a week, or was she okay with every day?
She just said, well, it's a good thing I'm drinking Chardonnay because it's the least amount of sugar, which, to my brain, I'm like, sweet, that's perfect. That was check. I have a permission slip, right?
Oh my God.
And it's weird because I had this like distorted view that like the drinking was like, making me gain weight and all these things. And that like, it was just this, I was so distorted. I mean, I'm still healing from that distortion, but she said clean wine. I mean, it does, Veronica, that's like a whole nother podcast about like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's BS. It's BS. And I go after these people. You can't be a health person at all if you say that you can drink wine. It's such BS.
No. And like, some of the people that, I was learning from on like how to eat clean, which is such a huge blessing to learn from them and learn all these different ways to clean my body and detox. um, they would have literally thrown away a carton of strawberries if they weren't organic, but you can drink wine. I mean, I just look back on that and it still makes me laugh. So
it's denial. I see it all the time. It's like people just cannot comprehend that life is worth living without alcohol. So they have to find a way to make it work within their thing, which is completely ignore the fact that it has ethanol.
Oh yeah, that's like the most toxic thing that you're putting in your body, but the grapes are organic. So that was one thing. And then I hired a therapist because I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to the bottom of why I can't control my drinking, right? What is the root cause of me not controlling? Because I just wanted to control it, right? I didn't want to quit. Too scary. I was too scared because I was way in. I mean, I was way, way in. And I finally mustered up the courage to tell her that I thought I had a drinking problem. And my therapist, that was a very expensive, well-known, I was like, I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm going to get really good help. This was before I met you, Veronica, of course. She said, well, Julie, I mean, how much do you drink? And I said, oh, I drink a few glasses of wine a night. I mean, I was probably 3 to 4 to a bottle, sometimes more a night. And she said, well, do you carry it in your purse during the day? Do you drink during the day? Is it like in your office? Do you hide it and carry it around? And I'm like, no. She's like, you're fine. You're fine. You're not an alcoholic. You're fine. I know alcohol. I know alcoholics. I know what it looks like. And you definitely are not one.
Oh my God.
So again, that was my second permission slip.
Right.
To say, okay, this is all just something I'm making up in my head. And then that's when it got real bad because I let loose. I was like, cool.
I've had a professional tell me I'm fine. My drinking's fine. I've had another professional said, as long as it's like organic, I'm double fine.
Yep.
Oh, hell.
And it was really, really, really difficult because I was begging for help and I was trying to figure out how to get out of this mess that I was in. I was in a really big mess and I was scared and I was confused and I didn't want to quit drinking because I couldn't comprehend it in my brain. And it just got so bad. I mean, I just started drinking. I mean, it was absolutely a bottle a night. I was putting bottles in cereal boxes and so that my husband wouldn't see them in the recycle bin. I mean, I started hiding things. And that's when I was like, okay, this is really bad. Like, I don't lie. I don't hide. Like, I've never had to. And now I'm ashamed of it. And so I knew it was like leading up to it. So I was going on a business retreat and I kind of knew it was like the end. It was October. Again, it was like the 2 years back, it was in October. I must have had summers, but I went away to a retreat in Arizona and it was like digging deep into like, what do you need to change? What do you need to do? And I was like, this is it. I'm done. So I ordered a big bottle of wine and I said goodbye to it. Sobbed my eyes out. I said farewell. I called my husband. I told him that this was it and I'm done. And then I never looked back. So I found you, thank God.
So you'd stopped drinking, hadn't you? You'd stopped for like around 6 months, 7 months.
I stopped in October and then I think I started your program maybe in April, October, November.
Okay, so you've been sober. Yeah. And it felt better and wanted to stay. Because I think when I met you, you wanted to stay committed to sobriety. Why did you feel you needed more help?
Because I realized how much. Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I'm trying to think if I really knew why I needed you. at the beginning of our relationship. Why I needed your program. But I think it was like, okay, I made it to 30 days. I made it to 100 days. And I did learn, like, just quit for 100 days and see what happens after that. And then I made it to 3 months, and I made it to 6 months. And I realized, though, that there's so much crap still. There's just so much. And I had to figure out what I needed more understanding as to, like, what was causing my stress and anxiety that led me to drinking? What was causing my extreme perfectionism that caused my stress and anxiety that led me to drinking? And, like, I needed to dig deeper, because I knew that if I didn't get to the core of the root cause of why I needed that so badly, other than, like, of course, at this point, the physical addiction had been broken, right? It was now like a mental addiction, and a mental, the mental identity and the stories that I had written, and all, it was so deep. It was so deeply woven. And I knew that I needed to dig deeper to unravel all of that, so that I wanted to live a big life sober and not struggle every single day saying, like, one more day, one more day, one day at a time. I didn't want to live like that. I mean, it is always, every day is one day at a time. But I just didn't want to struggle. So I knew there was work still to be done.
And how was that work?
It's still happening. Yeah, I told you I'm almost 2 years sober, and I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the doors have just opened up. The floodgates have opened. It's an incredible sense of freedom to not have to answer to a substance, to not have something completely controlling you. I mean, the freedom is the most beautiful thing. The work is deep. I mean, it just keeps getting deeper every day. What Veronica says over and over again is revealing yourself to yourself, and I didn't know how little I knew myself. I didn't know who I was. And I'm still learning that. And I'm learning how to deal with life, all the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs, the stress, without any numbing agent, without reaching for something from the outside. And so, dealing with things that activate us, people who, are resentments, we do a lot of that work. Which I know when we first met, and you said we're going to do resentment work. And I'm like, I have no resentments. What are you talking about? I really did. I was serious. I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't walk around resentful. I have no resentments. And you just laughed and you said, yeah, yes, you do. Don't worry. This is really important and you have them. And I'm like, okay. Because I just thought, like, okay, I don't hold grudges. I don't give people silent treatments. Like, I just don't. And then what I learned is, like, gosh, every day there are so many things that trigger us. And we write these stories and we want to control people, and, like, just slowly letting all that go. I mean, that's the root cause of these things that cause us to want to numb from the outside, is when that you get so stuck, So honestly, I mean, that's been incredible work, and it's still happening. There's layer after layer after layer, and it's it's challenging, but it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful. And every time I dig deeper, I feel more and more alive. And I can't, I'm so far away from that person I used to be. Um, like, it's like that was
Mm.
the old self. And now there's a new self emerging and growing and evolving. And um, it's pretty awesome.
Um, so I have some questions. What was it like being part of like the mom group when you stopped drinking? Like what did you have to change? Like how was that received? That kind of stuff.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was scary. It was scary. Because like I was always the one throwing the party, it was my party. I had a huge, like basement bar stocked to the brim, and it was scary. I didn't know how I was going to ever have a social life again, or how we were ever going to entertain again. And it was rocky. There were friends that I really don't hang out with anymore, of course. There's a lot of people that I just don't associate with because I realized, like, hey, that wasn't really a fruitful relationship because we just bonded, you know, while drinking. I had a lot of people share with me that they were feeling the same way I was.
Hmm.
And that's pretty powerful. I mean,
Hmm.
I felt really called to speak up and share my story in my circles and around the people that I'm connected with.
Hmm.
And people shared a lot of their stories, like, I feel the same way, or I've been struggling the same way. So it felt really empowering. Um, and then, I think it's just I'm still finding my way in terms of like, what do we like to do for fun? you know? What people who are our real friends, right? And it was awkward being around drinking friends a little bit in the beginning, and then now it's not. It's
Hmm.
not awkward at all. They respect me and they respect my choice. So I don't know. I mean, I think it was more scary in my own mind than it was in actuality.
Yeah, oh, it's often the case. It's often the
Hmm.
case. So you have a social life.
Oh, yeah. And it's great because where were we? We were out, and my husband at the end of the night, I forget what we were doing, but he was like, "You are more fun not drinking than you were drinking."
Really?
And it's true because I mean, I thought I was fun, but really, I mean, if you're drinking all night, you're not paying attention, you're not having good conversations, you're not aware of what you're even doing or saying towards the end of the night. I mean, and even if you're not a heavy drinker, you're still dulling everything.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I was dancing and laughing and having a great time. And I mean, that silent disco,
Oh, that we
there
went
was
to?
that
Oh.
sober retreats. There was a retreat for women, and there was a silent disco and singing and dancing completely alcohol free. Um, Gosh, I have way more fun alcohol free. I think I still feel a little nervous sometimes. That still creeps up, the little voice that's like, you're not going to have fun unless you drink. And then I just have to kind of quiet it and move forward, but it's not the truth. It's definitely not the truth.
How is that like so your husband is like I've noticed a big difference in you. Like how is it parenting and being in your family and being a wife now?
My gosh, I just take a deep breath because I just think about how um, thankful, like, I am so thankful that I quit drinking when I
Mm.
did because Um, I'm just present and I'm 100% there. And I can tuck my kids in at night and know what I'm saying. And actually, one of the things I noticed right away when I quit drinking was going to bed, being able to wash my face before I go to bed. Like, I just didn't wash my face. I just went to sleep, and then being able to like talk to my husband in bed. Um, I never did. I just went to bed and passed out, right? And acted like that was just a normal thing. And it just was a beautiful thing to start connecting at a deeper level. And it was really special to share with our boys. We took our basement bar and it's still fully stocked beverage fridge. It's just all non-alcoholic beverages. Just really fun, bubbly drinks. And we put a little bit of an ice cream bar in the bottom. And so it was just really fun to tell the boys that we just have decided that, alcohol is not healthy for our bodies. And it actually is poisonous and can cause cancer and has ethanol in it. And we didn't really realize how bad it was for us. And so we've made the decision to quit drinking it. And they know that now. We've taught them that, like, we did it and then we learned and then we changed our ways. So my boys are almost 11 and almost 13. So they're pretty aware of the differences, right? They know what was going on. And then my son would be like, "Can I taste your drink?" And I'm like, "Sure." Because it's just a bubbly water, or it's just a fruity drink. And that felt really good. Just so good. Yeah. I'm thankful.
I'm so glad that you said all of that stuff, that like your husband noticed that you're more fun, and
Mhm.
and I've seen how your life has expanded. And
Mhm.
I've loved working with you because you have, right from the get-go, you were fearless. You like committed, and you were like brave and vulnerable and let it all hang out right from the get-go in all of the best ways. Like you just fully showed up for yourself. And I think that paid off for you. Like, and if Julie's in a group, it's always a better group.
Yeah, I try not to be too serious. I don't know. My husband might not agree with you. I'm always making jokes, but yeah, I mean, what else? I didn't really have a choice, I think although my story is a lot different than stories I've heard, and I myself used to compare my story with much worse stories just so that I
Yeah.
could say, okay, I'm not so bad. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I was really bad for myself. Like, it was not okay. I was not functioning the way that I have been called to function. I was numbing my life out, and I was on a really big downward spiral. So it wasn't going to get any better. And um, I think that's what I've learned, is that there is no. I was looking on the outside for somebody to tell me if I was okay, when I knew all along on the inside I wasn't. And I just needed to listen to myself. And I think that if anybody's out there knowing, like, this isn't good, I don't feel good about this, or you're waking up in the middle of the night berating yourself or angry at yourself, like, oh, I did it again. I did it again. Even if you don't drink a bottle of wine a night, it's just a glass of wine, it's still not okay for you. There's something in you that's telling you it's not okay. And that means it's time to listen to that voice and take action. And it's scary. Like you said, I was fearless. I mean, I was scared to
Mm.
death, right?
Mm.
But I reached out and I found professionals like Veronica. Like, that was just a gift that I happened upon her and her program, and plugged in. And that made all the difference because I couldn't have done it alone. And
Mm.
I had a supportive family and a supportive husband. He actually quit drinking with me he didn't need to quit drinking. He didn't have any issue with it, but he just chose it for health. I mean, he wanted to be healthier. So I'm thankful for that, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for saying all of that. I was going to ask you, what would you say to somebody, to yourself, like 3 years ago, but you just answered that. And you
Yeah.
know, when people get on calls with me, like you just look like the clients I work with. It's on the outside. Nobody would ever in a million years think that there was an alcohol problem. It's all on the inside, and it's the question. We ask the wrong question. Is my drinking bad enough? And like, you go to a professional, goes, well, you don't drink during the day or hide it, so your drinking's not that bad. The question is this life good enough for me? And
Yeah.
that's a very different response when we ask that question. And clearly what you were saying is like, this wasn't, and then the revealing question is, would you want your children to drink the same way?
No.
And that's really clear.
No. No. And I mean, it's like to 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 be in a place where you're completely numbing out every day of your life, you're not living life. Or to need to numb yourself every day, you're not living. And whatever you're using to numb, I mean, I just used wine, but um, yeah, there's a lot of work that has to be done. But life is pretty incredible, even just to feel it all
Mm,
and to let it all flow through you. It's incredible. It's scary. It's
mm,
different. It's new. Um, and I again couldn't have done it without having help and without having support and a coach like Veronica and just being able to like journal and talk about it. So
mm.
it's a lot of work, but I'd much rather be doing that. This hard work is much easier than what I was dealing with before.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I say that to people as well, that getting sober is not hard. Having a drink problem is hard.
Oh gosh, it's so hard to have a drinking problem.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Even if you were fully functioning like I was, it's just every single day all you're trying to do is cover it up and look perfect and be better and try harder and fix it all, and it's exhausting. And the capacity, like I had no capacity. Like I don't even know how I was doing anything drinking that much every night and then pushing myself the way I did every day.
Mm,
I don't know how I did it, right? So it's kind of crazy because like you said, when you take all that away, your world opens up. Like your capacity is like quadrupled because all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at all there's time and I have ideas and I'm aware and I'm open. And I think that's completely like, it's hard to even think about where I was. And I did, someone had guided me early on to write down, like right when I quit drinking, just how bad it was, like just a journal entry. And I had written that just how horrible I felt and all the feelings and all the ways that I was beating myself up. And I still go back to that because I want to remember, if I feel like this is a challenge, um, or I get that urge to want to numb out, I'm like, no, I don't want to go back there. I never do. So,
well, Julie, thank you for just coming on and telling your story. I
mhm.
know lots of people will relate to this. I've loved watching you become the fullest version of yourself. You've really been just a dream to work with, and I really mean that. You really, really have. I'm so glad. I'm just so glad. You know, all the women I talk to, some of them can make the leap, and some of them can't. And I'm just so, and I know I know there's a lot of fear involved and the commitment and all of that kind of stuff. And not just to working with me, just to sobriety. It's like you
Mhm.
made the leap into sobriety. And I'm so glad you're seeing all of the great stuff that I know is there when we do the work. And and you haven't seen anything yet. And it just keeps getting better. And we have sons about the same age. And it's just such a great gift to give your children, to be fully present for them. but to also role model that you do not need a substance to relax, to reward yourself because it's Tuesday. Like
Right.
that is really, really great to role model to your kids.
Yeah.
And will pay off, down the road.
Yeah. I'm, they say that's poison, that's ethanol. And it's good. I mean, I want them to say that because that's what I've had to reprogram my brain into, saying that, because it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
And I want them to truly understand alcohol for what it is.
Yeah.
And point out the marketing and point out the lies around it, so that at least they're fully aware of what that means.
Yeah. Julie, thank you so much for joining me on the Soberful podcast.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Let us know what you think of the episode when this goes live. Please make sure you like and subscribe and follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And I will be back next week. Thanks, everybody.